Getting down to the wire now. I've got just 9 more shows as host of Greater Boston, and between now and my final night in this chair, we're squeezing in as many interviews with newsmakers and big thinkers as we can. We're calling it Emily's List. My guest tonight has been a voice on this show from the very beginning. Here he is, just 4 months after we launched back in 1997.
Over time, my record of accomplishment as Attorney General, as a leader, I think a record that any governor would be proud of, and my record of leadership and experience would earn people's support.
Couple of babes. He's made many appearances since then. Scott Harshbarger served 2 terms as State Attorney General. He lost his 1998 bid for governor to Republican Paul Cellucci. Today, he works in the private sector as an attorney and is a vocal casino opponent, as we know. Scott Harshbarger, welcome back.
That was a prize. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think we both looked just a lot? You look great.
So did you.
But there is an age.
We don't look that. I mean, we're not like disasters. Right. Let's put it that way.
Did you see I was trying to practice my hands staying in one place? That was the hardest part of it all.
We've aged gracefully. You know?
That's right.
It's not, some people, you can go one way or the other. And
That's right.
We're going right down the middle.
Right. That's right.
I started looking at the range of topics we've had you on. I don't even know if you can remember them all. Obviously, many when you were Attorney General. And one of my favorite was, do you remember when the Patriots were considering moving to Hartford? And we had you on to speculate as to whether the NFL would allow New England to have another team, if we could have a new Boston team.
Right.
I mean, that was the kind of thing we were talking about. That was kind of breathtaking back then.
That was when Bob Kraft was actually trying to hold up. He was holding up the town and to get that stadium and everything else. I mean, that was a sort of classic thing. It was one of the great things about being Attorney General, the range of issues that you could be involved in. And that part of it, and I think that was a lot of times we would come here dealing with sort of somewhat esoteric issues like that. But that was a classic Bob Kraft special, that one.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was good.
And of course, one of the things I like about you is he gives me a lot of feedback, by the way, you viewers out there. This is my #1 feedback guy, which I really enjoy. Some, it's not all flattering, but most of it, for the most part, it is. I know you watch because
it's constructive critique.
Very constructive
critique.
As you know, I've been interested in the correction system and the prison system for decades, and I hear from a lot of people incarcerated, and you did that big study back 05, 06?
That was 2000. It's great that I remember that as the one item that you focused on so much.
I read every word of it.
And you kept saying to me, excellent, I say positive critique. Why isn't this happening? Why can't we get this done? No, that's the embarrassing thing in Massachusetts. All over the country, Emily, people are making major changes. Look at Virginia, the South, responding to the need for reentry, for dealing with drugs differently, for reducing mandatory sentences.
Reducing sentences.
We did not take that blueprint for reform, which that Corrections Commission was. And I say that not because it was me, but the people on it. We had all kinds of experts who said, look, this is going to be fiscally efficient. It's going to improve public safety. It's going to enhance accountability. If it was not prison reform, Emily, everybody would have joined in the call.
Making the prisoners themselves feel better about the whole. I mean, I remember even one little detail was soap scum. It was like they were overwhelmed by it. It was so disgusting. It's like, these are the kinds of things you can fix. You were also asked to come in during the probation disaster a couple of years ago. I mean, has that completely turned around?
That one, I really think, first of all, I think the Corrections Commission, I think it's just a matter of leadership at the governor's level. And this is not a criticism of Governor Patrick, but when I look around the country, Massachusetts went from being a leader in corrections reform to being one of the most conservative in that area. And that's because nobody wanted to take any risk. The Willie Horton effect, which maybe only a few of us remember, still governs there. Probation, interestingly.
He was the guy who got out on furlough and then went on to murder.
And you remember that was such a big deal in the Bush versus Dukakis presidential campaign. And that's what sort of then Governor Weld came in with the joy of breaking rocks, and we never changed that. But here in probation, this is the one task force that I chaired that I really truly look at. I saw, Harry Spence and Ed Dolan did a thing the other day in the Globe. That has been a real reform. Yes, it took a scandal. Yes, it took a lot of different changes in leadership, but when you look at what's happening today in the court system and probation, with Harry Spence, with Paula Carey, with Ed Dolan, the reforms that Ron Corbett made, but the legislature deserves a lot of credit. Yes, they took a lot of heat for the recommendations, but Emily, they passed a court reform bill that for the first time really put professional management in, got rid of a lot of the elements of patronage that I think are really going to turn the thing around.
You've worn a lot of hats. I mean, 9 lives. You were also head of Common Cause. You did run for governor. I think it was 98. Was that a big disappointment looking back? Was that something you wished? And why is it that all our Attorney General, Frank Bellotti, you, Tom Riley, Martha Coakley, didn't make it to that corner office?
Well, there are probably many different reasons that you can give.
Is there the curse of the Attorney General is what I'm getting at?
And it's very true. And I think that, but one of the reasons is because the job itself was, the great thing about it politically was you get to do the right thing and people support you for that. But that means you necessarily, if you do it well, in my view, you may do it with reason and respectability, but when you take on major powerful interests, they're going to remember that you took them on, and you're sort of on the line. You've made decisions. You put your record out there. But
so the power brokers don't necessarily support the Attorney General.
No, and I think that's and look, it's the people also. By the way, you can't be at a press conference indicting people with a big smile on your face and singing a song and pretending you're a really nice person. But when you're running for governor, people may not necessarily want to have the prosecutor that they've been looking at be the governor. So there's a lot of changes in running. But the most important thing that you asked me was it a disappointment? Yes, it was a great disappointment. But the wonderful thing about it, I think if you asked my wife Judy or my sons, they would say that life after partisan politics to some extent has really been much more complete, I've been very lucky. I mean, I've had opportunities, as you point out, to do many other things in the public life and in the private sector. So there is life after it. But somebody like you cannot go through that, as you will discover.
Oh, I'm sure.
When you walk out of here, there will be a period when you will look. That's right, and you will look back. There'll be a transition, but then I think you'll discover, with all the talent you have, respectfully, that there's a best is yet to come. And the challenge to you is, what is that going to be? For me, that was a huge
I'm working on
challenge. And it's not easy, but it will take time.
You've got another 9 lives anyway.
Well, I sure hope so, and I hope you do as well. And
Thanks.
I appreciate so much the chance to be on with you. Thank you so much.
All right, Scott Harshbarger.
That's great.
Thanks.